welcome. And hey, thank you so much for joining us today for In Conversation Series 4. In the studio right now, I've got two beautiful ladies with me. I've got content creator from SGAG. We've got Maddy, Breteche-Lo. We had a chat
She can't
about.
pronounce my name.
We had a chat about this earlier. I got it right though.
Yeah, you did.
Love it,
Well
love
done.
it. Fantastic. Also, alongside with a very beautiful psychotherapist and family life educator, we've got Charis Patrick. Hi, hi. Okay, Boomer, the parental art of communicating with today's youth. The reality is we belong to a time where the younger generation, is communicating through GIFs, through memes to get their point across. In fact, I do that sometimes, and I'm not part of that generation. But as true digital natives, here's the thing. Teenagers now, essentially when they grow up with a device in their hand. They watch things when they are having lunch. I know a lot of parents do that with a lot of their kids. But what kind of insights can we get such that parents, can learn from a child's social media account? Or how can we bridge that gap, that communication gap that seems to be widening with every single app that enters the virtual world by storm? Do you feel that because, of social media, everything needs to be fast and instant? And do you think this affects the way a child learns?
Definitely. I always say this, how to fight with social media when it's so tempting, it has full color, it has audio effect, and then you turn to your mother at home and all she knows is how to nag at you at one screaming voice, and then suddenly mother looks like slow motion. And then you get very impatient, then you go into rage and you flare up, and totally are not connected to what your mother has to say.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real danger there, and
Yeah.
that when we get overstimulated, we're just looking for a higher high.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very sad, very depressing after you go on a high and there's no more high to go. You feel very, very lost.
Now there has been a report talking about an increase in 43%.
Wow.
I'm going to say that again. A 43% increase in social media content consumption.
Wow.
And I am curious to know what you ladies think about it, because with this rise, do you think that affects the dynamic between parent and child? So for instance, maybe taboo topics, where the next generation is learning about it way easier because it's discussed on social media.
Yeah.
Or what about parents not having access to the kind of content that the kids are looking at right now? I don't know. Charis,
I think with a huge 43% rise in social media content, it's just really shouting in our face as parents out there. There's no way we can live in denial anymore. It's here to stay, and we have to learn a way to embrace it. And there's a lot of very sensitive content that a lot of teenagers are very curious. And if they don't find a safe space to talk about it, they go on there. There are plenty of people they can talk about it together. So I really want to say that it's important we can't get a feed in there. You don't have to be very savvy. Like, I'm still not on TikTok, right? But you need to definitely be curious and be open-minded, because there are really good stuff there, and there are also some knowledge they can learn. But you must be able to create a different human interaction space where your teenager, after watching all this, they need to be able to come back to you and want to talk to you about it.
Yes.
And what will make them want to talk to you? It is, number one, do they trust you? Number two, do they feel safe? And how do someone feel safe, right? If we are forever very judgy, always telling them, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, and they begin to feel like, oh, you're not even for me, you're always against me, they won't want to come near you. So, but if you are willing to be open and stay interested and be curious, learn from them, then they will not distance, but they at least begin to come close to you, and you begin to build a safe space, and you can have conversation. Have conversation about what they watch on social media, what they hear from social media, and I think that can be a very good interaction space.
Have you noticed that when it comes to the younger generation, everyone can communicate so well online, but something about the in-person seems to be lacking? Do you sense that?
For sure, definitely. And among the young, I think when they hide behind the screen, somehow they feel a sense of safety, and they kind of show up differently, and they have different versions of themselves. But when they don't have enough experience to kind of show up in presence, in person, then they can feel suddenly very different, very awkward. They have the inward cringe, and they don't know how to kind of express themselves. And that's not surprising, but that is really a huge concern. And so I am big on creating space to help the young to still interact and have face-to-face contact and relate as person. So we remember minimally at least how to be human.
We're talking about that 43% rise in social media consumption. How do you think that affects? Can there be a good to this, you think?
I feel like there can be a good if you know, if it's just the kids being online,
Yeah.
and the parents are completely just not aware of what you're doing, not online at the same time, not on the same apps, then there clearly is going to be a huge gap.
Yeah.
Like my dad is super into social media.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, my mom is the complete opposite. My
Okay.
mom is very like, what is a laptop? But my dad is like, he has Instagram, he has Twitter, he has Facebook, he has TikTok.
Wow,
that's
uncle,
pretty
it's
cool.
happening.
My uncle, my father, my father really damn happening.
So like I already said, I'm not on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
But once in a while, you come and say, the first thing I remember, my son said, oh, when I went home, say, oh, mom, and say something, right? Psych. I say, what psych? The only psych I know is psychology.
Same, same,
Short
same.
form,
Same,
psych,
same, same.
right? Then if not, the other one is the Oppa Gangnam Style, the guy called
psych,
psych.
psych.
So I thought already well informed. They say, no, you don't know what psych? And you look at me strange. Then don't feel bad. Then I ask, so what psych? Say, oh, just kidding. So, oh, okay, everyday kidding, oh, okay. And I learn every day I learn. So just stay open and be curious. Don't overdo it. And then when they know that you're open, they will allow you in slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious to know about, like, sorry, go ahead.
Also, just to interrupt really quickly, that conversation could have gone a lot differently with Charis if her son had been like, psych, and she'd be like, that's stupid, don't use that word. Use
Yeah.
proper words in my house. Then it could be like,
Right.
well, I'm never making jokes with my mom ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never gonna, if this is how she's gonna
That's
react.
true.
Like,
Right.
because teenagers, like, I mean, I was one not too long ago, and there really
Right.
is like, oh my God, she's shutting me out.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just be like, well, then I won't bother.
How do we help our children use social media healthily and even to an extent if it helps their growth, say in school, in their careers, in future building, but not to be overly attached and consumed? I think maybe Charis, you can start on this one.
I think if your child is still very young, be very careful. I know social media and gadgets can be very good babysitter. So use it, but use it carefully. Don't just leave the child to the gadget, and by the time they are used to that kind of stimulation, nothing can satisfy them. But if you're talking about right now, when you have a teenage child, then you want to still be able to hold some boundary. Help the child understand, while I give you permission to explore social media stuff, you must also abide by the condition where you come back and do some human relationship stuff. So how you kind of build a routine or build a ritual around that. For example, meal times in my household is no gadget. You want to eat, you don't watch. And everybody learn to be a human being for a while.
The
And
top.
if you learn to
Yeah.
do 3 meals a day, you will get somewhere. Yeah. And also, don't try to make social media like the evil thing, because we do learn a lot of good things. Like I was sharing with them, my son learned how to cook. He makes very good fried rice, very good pork chop. And I asked him, how you learn? Social media. So there are very good stuff there.
I think one thing is not to be the kind of parent who's like, 8 p.m., give me your phone, you cannot have it. Like, you cannot have your phone overnight. Because my dad used to do that. And he used to turn off the Wi-Fi and disconnect.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a
get-
big one.
Yeah, I get damn angry.
Yeah.
I'd be like, then I would want to be on it even more.
Interesting.
Like, there has to be a limit, obviously, but I think really find out what your kids' passions are. Because then they would do what they are passionate about. And they wouldn't be like on their phones bored all the time. So for me, it was really, I think, you know, I really wanted to be an actress. And had there been more drama classes or had there been more performing arts classes, I really would have enjoyed like way more time spent like doing these things and, you know, kind of finding out what you want to do in the future.
I hope to see you very, very soon. Until the next time, I'm Charmaine E. And from us, all three ladies in the studio, we hope you have enjoyed the session today. Stay well, stay safe, and good night.